What's going on, guys? This is Tech Habit Weekly, episode 23. Today's date is April 9th, 2014. I'm here with Mr. KC Nightmare, Dante Harris himself. And today we have not too many stories, but we do have quite a variety. We have some Windows stuff. We're going to talk about the Amazon Fire TV, some CarPlay competition. And so, of course, the tech treats at the end. So, with that said, Dante, going to kick us off with our first feature story today about Amazon's Fire TV. And tell us a little bit about what it is.
Basically, the Amazon Fire TV is basically just like your Apple TV, your Chromecast, Roku, and the other different type of set-top box devices. But one thing that's particularly nice about this particular set-top box is some of the things that are under the hood. It's going to be sporting 2 gigs of RAM, dedicated GPU, and a quad-core CPU, and of course, using some of the latest bands of Wi-Fi. This has dual-band Wi-Fi in it. And it's going to be giving you some nice services like Netflix and Hulu Plus, Crackle, Pandora, YouTube, and a lot of different things for and it's coming from Amazon.com. Now, Amazon is doing pretty well with these type of services, and there's been a lot of rumors that they're going to get more into this type of market, and this shows right here with this particular set-top box. Now, Bob, you have an Apple TV, correct?
Yep.
Now, I use my Apple TV pretty much every day. I love it a lot. Now, what would make you basically want to go from that architecture to this architecture? And honestly, from the things that I'm seeing as far as the specs and things like that, do you think there'll be some different things like gaming and different type of platforms on this particular set-top box?
It's hard to say. That's definitely a weak point of the Apple TV, at least in its current form, is if you do, want to do some gaming on it, it doesn't have, like a dedicated app store or anything. What you can do is you could kind of AirPlay from your phone or your tablet, but the thing is that's very laggy. I don't know if that's just, like a limit of the processing power of that thing, or, for some reason the Wi-Fi just isn't cutting it, which I don't believe at all. But regardless, I don't think, with that said, I don't do much gaming on the Apple TV anyway. So mainly what I use it for is Netflix, and that's pretty much all I use it for, with the occasional AirPlay of, like a video from my iPad or something. So I don't really think that I would invest in the Fire TV. That's not I don't think anyone should invest in it. It does look like a very cool solution. One thing I'm reading here that it has is voice search. So there's like a little microphone right on the remote, and you could just do a search from that. That stuff I think is very cool, and it could definitely benefit even me at times. But for me to try to switch from, kind of like the Apple ecosystem I have here to something that's not Apple on my TV, I don't think I would do that. I would definitely love to, get in the store and try one out, or if the price was right, which has there been a price announced for it? Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not seeing anything. Okay, yeah, okay, so yeah, $99. That's not bad. It's exactly what the Apple TV costs, but a Chromecast is something that, okay, I could plop down, 30 bucks or so and give it a shot. But to spend 100 bucks on something that I'm not confident that I'll keep around, that seems just to be a little bit steep. And I'm already pretty satisfied with my Apple TV. What about you, Dante? Would you go ahead and give this a try?
I mean, giving it a try, I would say yes, only because I mean, there's over 200,000 different shows and things on there, and then from the video that we're just playing, that you see that there's actually a dedicated controller with it to play the games that are actually there available for the Fire TV. And like you said, I think that was one of the key areas that the current form factor of the Apple TV is currently lacking. And yes, you can play your iOS games through AirPlay, and to AirPlay mirror them onto your Apple TV and basically use your iPod Touch or your iPhone or your iPad as the controller. But I've been having lag issues pretty badly with the current form of the 1080p model of the Apple TV 3. And with this architecture, it seems like that it's probably a little more configured towards that because they do have a dedicated controller for that. And of course, like you said, you use the different services like basically Netflix. And yes, Netflix is the most used app on my Apple TV. And
Absolutely.
and sometimes I'll use, of course, use it to AirPlay, YouTube and some different things like that. If I'm in a setting where there's a lot of people around and I'm like, hey, have you seen this video? And then you can just air flick it and boom, and it's right on your TV. So with Amazon's architecture and everything that's with this particular set-top box, I think is a very good adaptation. Only thing that's kind of steering me away from it is because it's new to the game as far as this particular setup, and it's the same competition price as the Apple TV. So if it would have came in a little cheaper, say maybe even $49.99, I'd probably been a lot quicker to jump onto it. Something like a Chromecast, like you said, was on 35 bucks. You're not coming out a whole loads of money and things like that. But then also there's going to be some limitations with that architecture. But for what this thing can do and with the quad core processor, I think they got a lot of things planned. But we have to see what's going to happen in terms of development and third party apps and things like that to go into the works with it. But personally, I think it's a good deal. We'll see what happens with it, because they have to work out deals with some of these different companies anyway to see what shows and what things they can get on there anyway. So they're kind of behind the eight ball on this one. I don't know if this will be some sort of device that will come in and just steamroll the market, and go right past, say Apple TV or something like that, and even Chromecast because it was already out. And we'll just definitely have to see what happens as it develops. But I mean, I think it's a good concept, and I think a lot of these companies are starting to understand that people like to have the full control over what they're watching and when. And these set-top boxes like this one is no exception to the game, and I think it's a very good deal. So I don't know if you guys think this is a good architecture. Please feel free to leave us a comment down below, or if you think there's one that's better, if you think Apple TV is better, you think that the Chromecast is better, leave us a comment below.
Yeah, really quick, I want to add another thing that I think another use case, I should say, that I would use this more is if I used my Amazon Prime streaming video service more or even at all. I was actually buying my tech treat, which we'll get into at the end of the show, so be sure to stay tuned for that. But I was buying this on Amazon about 2 days ago, and there's a little notification at the top of Amazon that says, "We don't think you're using your Prime service to its full advantage. Do you know that you could stream video?" And I was like, "I know, but I just never use it because I have Netflix." And so, I mean, if I was one of those avid, Amazon Prime streaming viewers, then I think this would also kind of call to me a bit more. But since Netflix kind of rules my life, I really don't need Amazon streaming at all. Do you use Amazon streaming at all?
Oh, not at all. I know at least two people that do use it, but I think they're underusing it. I mean, they say they use it kind of here and there, but nothing to the likes of like even just having a Netflix service. I think they actually use just that alone more than they use the actual Amazon streaming service. There's a guy that I know who has a smart TV, and it's one of the apps that's kind of built into the television that he can download, and he uses sporadically, but not enough to where it's like, oh, this is the next new thing or anything like that. But like I said, I think it's just a little too new. I mean, because this device was just released today, and like I said, at the price of $99 and things, there's still going to be some suspicion. There's still going to be some curiosity that will help it sell, but also there's going to be that, this is another box that's in the game. Like, what is it giving me differently than any of the other set-top boxes? It's one of those things. I don't know if it's enough by having a dedicated controller and some nice specs and dual band Wi-Fi and things like that. I think they have to pump it out just a little bit harder, and maybe get on that marketing staff and get some ads and different things rolling for your Super Bowl halftime shows and your different sporting events and things like that to get the steam rolling on it. But we'll definitely see what happens. I mean, with the UI and different things, and just there's always going to be some bugs, there's always going to be some fixes and
Oh
things
yeah.
that are going to happen. So we'll definitely see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying earlier, I'm a satisfied Apple TV user. I'd like to see a faster processor. I mean, throw the processor that's in my phone in the Apple TV. I
Yeah.
think things like stream, like like AirPlay and games, I think would be a lot smoother. Maybe dump some additional RAM or even some onboard storage in there. Open up an app store. I think that's when we've talked about all these things on previous episodes of Tech Habit Weekly. But I would much rather have an updated Apple TV than to switch over to something that and kind of ruin the Apple ecosystem I have going here, where I can just play stuff from my phone, my tablet, and my desktop computer right to my TV. So I don't think it'd be worth it for me to disturb that with this. But be sure to let us know what you think down below in the comments. Maybe you have an Apple TV and you're really just wanting to try something new. Whatever it is, be sure to let us know down below in the comments. Now what we're going to do is we're going to switch it over to some Windows news. We're going to talk about Windows Phone 8.1. Now, Windows Phone 8.1, they have an entire new lock screen, home screen. They are sticking with the tile schemes. It's not quite as flat. I'll say bland. It definitely looks very nice. Dante, what are your initial impressions of Windows Phone 8.1?
My initial impressions of it, Bob, is that it actually does look a lot better. I am not a big fan of Windows Phone architecture at all. I mean, and when I saw I think it was one of the first phones. I believe it was for like AT&T, if I'm not mistaken, that came out. A friend of mine's mother actually had it, and she, anytime she gets a new gadget, she just wants me to kind of, look it over and just, hey, what do you think about this? And I thought it was absolutely atrocious. And with the way it was set up, it's just the tile setup I thought was too elementary for me. I mean, even with the Windows 8 OS, I thought it was too elementary because of the colored tiles. Everything was really bright and over contrast and things. But with this, it does look nice. Like I'm looking at the article here, and it shows different notifications, your Wi-Fi, and store download notifications and different things like that. So it does actually look a lot better because at first, one of the screens that I looked at, every tile was the exact same
Yep.
size, and I was like, really, it feels like I'm playing, that old school game Simon where you match up the colors when it, blinks. That's what I felt. But with the new release of this Windows Phone 8.1, it does look very nice. And then there's actually another extra added benefit, and that's actually going to be Cortana. Now, Cortana is actually their version of an assistant, and it looks like it's going to be nice because it says Cortana can also tap into third-party apps like Facebook and Flickster, Hulu Plus, and other different applications. And these are just different things you can use, and you use it with Google Now. And it says Cortana is actually capable of scanning through emails to find info on flights and other data and things like that. So it's pretty much like your Siri for Windows Phone, and your S Voice and things like that. And I thought it was just a matter of time before Windows came out with something like this. And the name Cortana does actually sound like it's something that's sophisticated. It to me it sounds like the name of like a cyborg or something. And yeah, it seems really nice, as far as that. Now, I haven't exactly seen how this actually works firsthand. Then also, you need to move over to the enterprise section of it. Of course, having Office on your phone and things like that is like a really big plus, especially with the adaptation of Microsoft Office coming to the iPad and iOS devices, and it took so long. These are some of the things that some of the more business savvy users are going to be really liking to have on just any
Oh yeah.
Windows phone, and of course Windows tablets and things like that. And the just like FaceTime is integrated with iOS and Apple, they have Skype integrated into the phone as well as their main conferencing call feature. And just like FaceTime, they own Skype. And there's a bunch of different keyboard enhancement they've been doing and a lot of different features to kind of fit the scheme to yourself. You can change the UI colors and things like that. And I think they've done a lot to try to move it over to being a little more user friendly and to kind of keep the architecture that they already had in place. So, Bob, if you just hands down, for some reason, there was some end of the world apocalypse and there was no such form of Apple product around, would you use the Windows Phone 8.1?
I would absolutely use it, yes. Whether I would, make it my daily driver, I'm not quite sure at the moment. I was watching MKBHD's review of the HTC One M8, and I have to say that skin actually looks very nice on Android. I would definitely love to give that a try. But I think it would be between obviously, like an Android phone and a Windows phone. But if I was leaning towards one, I'd say I'd be leaning a little bit more towards the Android side, just because I think just how Microsoft was late to the game with, Office for the iPad and things, they're kind of late to the smartphone game as well. And there's simply just not as many applications out there. Android, I mean, iOS has by far like the biggest library and I think the biggest ratio of quality apps to the number of apps. Android is definitely second in that regard. And I don't know. Windows, I think, is to me, they're just late to the game too often. And so I would absolutely love to go to a store and use this thing. I would like to see this actually, move in my hand as I use it. But what just from the screenshots here, just, having a new look, iOS 7 had a new look to it, and it turned out that it was very nice, at least in my opinion. Cortana, once again, they're just now getting that, that voice assistant going on. So, a bit late to the game there as well. And they're pulling an Apple here in that it's coming out as a beta. So, it is going to be buggy. They are going to, add in new things over time. The enterprise, not something that I'm particularly interested in on my phone. One thing that I think Apple, or not Apple, listen to me here, Microsoft is really looking for now is definitely, the enterprise. They always have, but especially now in terms of mobile. I've been reading things online, and the more I think about it, Microsoft Office being released for the iPad, it's something that, for businesses, it's very good, but for consumers, people like you and me, we're used to not having Office on our iPad or our phones, so we found workarounds. And so now that you have to have that Office subscription to even, use the app fully, it's not something that me or you are going to do. It's just not going to happen. But if you're a business that already has a subscription to Office 365, or you already have a Microsoft environment, then it's just that an added bonus that you kind of get for free. So that's kind of what they're going for, I think, here is definitely kind of the enterprise rather than the consumer. The fact that this Techno Buffalo article here has a whole enterprise section, it kind of hints at that. And I know where I work, I'm interning at a place where I work in the IT department, and they're always going back and forth. Their smartphone assets are a mess. They're constantly trying to switch. Some users want iPhones, and some users want Galaxy S4s, soon to be S5s. And so we have both all over the place. And when it comes down to pushing different group policies and things onto the phones, there's all these different apps sprinkled about. We have a Windows 7 environment, and so I think that this is the kind of market that Microsoft is going here with the update to Windows Phone. Definitely more of the enterprise than the consumer. But that's not to say that they're not going to go for any consumer, because they have things like Skype on the phone as well. A more playful interface, and eventually they'll have more apps and more games and stuff. But Dante, would you agree that they're more marketing towards kind of the enterprise market than the consumer market with Windows Phone 8.1?
Bob, absolutely. Only because, like, exactly every point that you said with, Office for the iPad and iOS infrastructure coming out. And, that seems like a huge push right now because so many people love the form factor and iOS as it was by itself, but just wanted Office for it. Well, you see how long Microsoft took to get that out there. And I think I want to say it hurt Microsoft in some regard and also helped them in some regard because it basically waited out Apple so long that it's like, hey, if you want it, buy a Surface. If you want it, get a
Yep.
Windows Phone, And now they finally probably got to the point where like, okay, we need to go ahead and get that iOS money because, we've waited too long. But yes, definitely. I mean, even with the different OSs and server editions of Windows and things like that, they've always pretty much been geared towards that enterprise market, and there's no problem with that. But the problem is you're trying to take a consumer phone and an enterprise phone and make it into the same architecture. So like you said, a person like you or me, we really don't care about that. We found our workarounds with Microsoft Office by using iWork and Keynote numbers and pages and things like that. And honestly, those work well for me. I mean, whenever I need
Oh
to do
yeah.
something or a spreadsheet or something, it works just fine for me because I'm in an all Mac environment. There's a 15-inch MacBook Pro here. I'm using a Mac Pro desktop, and there's another white 2009 MacBook upstairs. I mean, and so I don't really have that problem with, well, you can't take it everywhere. I'm like, well, you can, but you just have to learn a little workaround for that.
Yep.
And in the same regard as a lot of people use iTunes in their own Windows, it's kind of the same thing. You're not using, more likely not using your Windows media player to play your different songs and things if you have an iTunes account. So it's just something like that I think that Microsoft is going to stay in that market because it seems like Apple, it doesn't really promote exact enterprise things like fully in your face enterprise security and things like that, and it's definitely there like you said. My job too, we have Galaxy S's and we've got iPhones, iPads, and different types of tablets and things all over the place, and our security certificates and different ways to basically keep our email and everything locked down. They're completely
Yep.
different apps, just like there's this Android one that's like real crazy to get set up, but then the iOS one, there's like 2 clicks and it's everything's secure and you're good to go and you don't have to do it one time. The only thing that it required at the time it was a problem was back in like iOS 6 was that it required you having a PIN code to unlock.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I was like, well, that's stupid. I'm not going to do that. Well, now look at iOS 7, we all have it.
Yep.
So it's almost like they jumped the gun on that, but it worked out in their favor because of iOS 7 being more secure with the iCloud environment to keep things a lot more secure, like not being able to just wipe somebody's phone and sell it, even though it's been stolen or something like that. It's 10 times harder to do it nowadays. So yes, I definitely see Microsoft going towards the enterprise market, trying to nab up that market that maybe BlackBerry completely failed with and try to scoop up those people. But like you said too, if I had to choose, I would more likely stay on an Android environment than a Windows Phone environment because it just the way it looks. I don't agree with the way it looks and the feel of it and some of the functionality that it actually has. I've been on Android before, and I have my workarounds and things I have to do with Android to be able to function. So if I absolutely had a choice and had to choose out two, I definitely would choose Android.
Yeah, and I mean, from the perspective, I mean, if I was a boss of some pretty high up organization or something, and for whatever reason, we cannot use an Apple environment, that we have to use a Windows environment, being the guy that's in charge, I would want everything to try to be the same. If I'm running a Windows OS, I would try to get the phone that has the Windows OS too. But if there's not enough features on that Windows phone, then of course that's when you have to start going out to Android or iOS and use whatever enterprise features that they do have. But I would definitely try to have everything be one company, because I've said it before in the past. That's it's trying to get into our last story. That's why I have an Apple TV at that end and an Apple OS at this end, because they talk better. So I mean, if you have a Microsoft phone and a Microsoft OS, then a computer OS, then they're going to talk a bit better than one being Apple and one being Microsoft. That's just how it is. So I think they do have a very big advantage, or a very big opportunity in the enterprise market with Windows 8.1, and I think that's a demographic they're going for. But great points. Be sure to let us know what you guys think down below in the comments. You being a consumer watching this, would you go to the store and pick up a Windows 8 phone, or do you want to stick with Android or iOS that has all of the bigger app selection, more games, and just probably a bit more user friendly at the end of the day? Be sure to let us know down below. Sticking on Windows 8.1, now we're going to be talking about the desktop. Windows 8.1 update finally brings back the start menu. And this start menu, I have to say, looks pretty hot. It's hot as the sun. Dante, what exactly did they do with the new start menu?
Well, besides shooting herself completely in the foot and just burning lots of revenue dollars with the adaptation of having Windows 8 come out into the market and having the tile, and Metro look to it, I think that this is actually pretty cool because I am not a big fan of Windows 8, and a lot of people know it. If you follow me on Twitter and things like that, I have a defined hatred for Windows 8. Now, there are a lot of things that they did better in Windows 8 than that was in Windows 7. But one of the key features is when you take away the exact start menu, that's a huge learning curve
Oh yeah.
when people are just like, wait a minute, you used to just click this and get to my applications and things.
It's been the same
I,
way for two
yeah, it's
decades.
2 decades and you take it away from us. So they got a lot of flack, of course, from that. And I think that's when a lot of the sales kind of went to Mac OS, and definitely Windows have been basically playing catch up this entire time. But with this new update, 8.1 update, it brings back the start menu, and they actually did it in a nice way because it still has the same look with the new Windows logo and everything. It's not the old school Windows orb flag in the middle and things like that. And when you click on the start menu, it actually has some of the tiles, but they're smaller in between there, and that's a lot easier to navigate than having an entire page full of tiles and trying to like look around all the way across, because a lot of those
Yeah.
tiles, especially when you hit the down arrow, had a lot of different things in there, store options and settings and a lot of different things that are down there. And to me, I just thought navigating through the UI was very confusing. But with this, it looks very nice. It's going kind of backwards with the UI setup of the start menu, and I think that this is actually a good thing. Usually going backwards usually is a good thing, but this is one of those things that if it's not broke, don't fix it. And that was something that they should have never, ever done. And I know they're kicking
Yep.
themselves for doing it. And I'm actually surprised it took this long to come out, because I actually thought with the launch of Windows 8.1, it was going to be back. Now, they did fix a lot of problems in Windows 8.1. I can definitely say that when I first installed Windows 8, that I completely didn't like it, and that's why I just installed it as a virtual machine just to test it out. And now that I have Windows 8.1 virtual machine on my MacBook Pro, it's a little better, but when this update actually comes out, it will actually help out with that, being able to navigate. And this is actually Windows 8.1 update one, not to be confused. And it says that the launch of the update will be as of actually yesterday, on April 8th. And so if you guys that are out there that are Windows users and have Windows 8.1 installed and haven't updated so far, be sure to back up your files and everything, hit that update button and see how you guys like the actual new updated look of that start menu, because I think it's nothing but a good thing. I think it's great. I don't know about you, Bob, but if you had to, use this as a primary, do you think this is something that you actually need? Because it's not like we've never used Windows or anything. I've learned everything up to computers to this point based on Windows,
Oh yeah.
but I just switched over to Mac OS once I started learning some of the different things that I could do. So, do you think this is something that would actually benefit you if you were a Windows user primarily?
Yeah, if I was the primary Windows user, I'd be updated already. I mean, I've never been a fan of the Metro. I agree that it probably, it works great on tablets. If you look back at my channel ways, I did review a Microsoft Surface, the original Surface, and there's some good things about it. There's some bad things about it. I think the Metro UI works fine on a tablet, but when it comes to my PC, especially if you have multiple monitors,
Oh,
it's not
brutal.
great at all. And so this lets you have your cake and eat it too. It's not like they said, okay, we screwed up. We're going to go back to exactly the way it was. They still innovated. They brought back what everyone knew, has known and loved, like we said, for 2 decades now. But they also added an improvement to it by having the right side be the new updated things. So you have both, just a classic list of stuff on the left and the new stuff on the right. And I'm sure the right side is fully customizable. There's probably different options where you could manually, put things there and select the size of it, or maybe it'll just say, okay, you use this the most, so we'll give this one a big icon up top. And still, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, or maybe if you did like the way that the old Metro UI was, I'm not sure if there's an option where you could change it back. I don't know any of that stuff, but I have to say that right now this looks absolutely awesome. This could be great too, especially because in Windows 8 these are live tiles. They display real-time information. So it'd be awesome to have, like, a little weather app there that all I have to do is hit the start key, or click start, and be able to have a quick glance at the weather or how many unread emails or things like that. It's a really nice quick way to get access to some really basic quick information, or it's just how you would always launch an application or get into your My Computer or something. So I definitely think this is a billion-dollar idea. I think this is what Windows 8 should have been from the very start. On the
Mhm.
tablet, I think they could go back. I mean, on a tablet, I think that they could have Metro be Metro, the way that we've known Metro up until this point. But on a desktop, I feel that this is absolutely the way to go. I don't think that if I saw this, if I used it right here, I don't think I'd ever want to go back. So, Dante, how about you? Is this something that you would update to immediately if you were a Windows 8.1 primary user?
To be exact, I'm actually updating it right now on my virtual machine. So yeah, I've got Windows 8 open up here in a Parallels desktop, and I'm actually going through the update processes as we speak. So
Nice.
I'll definitely let you guys know once everything's fully installed and how it works and everything, and just go from there. But yeah, that's something that I'm going to have on my 15-inch MacBook Pro, and we'll see. I mean, I don't see it being a bad thing, definitely. And hopefully it helps out a lot of people that had a lot of gripes about Microsoft, because they definitely lost a lot of points for a long time, because it's not like Windows 8 has been out for 6 months. It's been a while and
Yeah.
they faltered from this, and hopefully this kind of helps bring back some of that steam to Microsoft, especially with the new CEO and things like that. Maybe that's the structure that they're going. They're just kind of try to win back some of those fans, especially some of the people that they lost as far as OS sales, when they had, they're pumping out a new OS, but everyone's like, yeah, I'm taking it back. I want you to put Windows 7 back on this laptop. And like you said, not everybody has touch screens or that tablet, but on your desktop, it will work better for us if we had that start menu. But like you said, the Metro interface perfect for a tablet, but desktop, I hope this actually works right. So we'll find out here in about 10 minutes or so once this
Awesome.
download gets done. So.
Really quick, just before we get to another story, we were mentioning, just in the last article talking about Windows Phone 8.1, that they're kind of geared towards the enterprise market. And up until this point with Windows 8, no business will even say the word 8. They all are sticking to Windows 7. Do you think that once some CEOs or some IT, leaders see that they've, kind of brought back the classic start menu, kind of mix some stuff in with the old, do you think that they'll finally have Windows 8 start to leak into the enterprise as well?
Honestly, I'm not sure, because I mean, if you start thinking of some of the architecture that these businesses would want to have in an enterprise environment up until this point with using Windows, it's not all colorful, and it's just basically core. This is what you're going to use. Start menu applications. Here you go. And with the look of it, I think it deters a lot of different
Yeah.
enterprise companies, just because the look just makes it seem kind of elementary, like I said before. You're just like, oh, you got this bright blue black background and neon green, app tile and just things like that. And that's why even like with the servers and different things like that, just think if you were managing Windows Server 2013 or something and it looks like that,
Yep.
and oh, that would be terrible, and there's not an IT expert in this world who would say, hey, we're just going to stay on 2012 or 2008 or whatever else that they're using right now, because of that, and then you have to think of the different security flaws and different things that you would
Yeah.
have. And but yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to take some time. They would have to actually make a special version of Windows 8. Just because it's Windows 8 doesn't mean it has to look exactly like that with the tiles and everything. And hopefully they get that in their infrastructure to try to make it work that way. That way, a lot of these companies will actually take on their OS as their server head and their primary use for their company.
Yeah, actually, I have a little ESXi server running up here, and I installed Windows Server 2012 on it, and it's clumsy. I mean, there's just no need for a tile interface on a server OS. I mean, it just makes it difficult to navigate. It's like, I mean, how do you even restart this thing? Oh, well, you have to hover your mouse over here, then you have to click the charms bar, and then just give me a shutdown
Yeah,
button. Like on a
right.
server, you don't need that kind of stuff, but yet it's still there. So I agree with you completely. I mean, they should just have a completely different OS that at its core, it can still be Windows 8 and have the
Right.
Windows 8 security and still have the Windows 8 features and the Windows 8 fill in the blank here. Just not the Metro stuff, no tiles, nothing like that. Just bring back the classic start menu that has only just the various, maybe like SQL server or just a few things that we need to run on the server, maybe some, our backup software, whatever have you, and a shutdown or a restart or a logout button. And that's all that we need, when running a Windows server. So I really just don't understand why, but regardless, be sure to let us know what you think down below in the comments. If you are a Windows 8.1 user, are you're gonna stay back until you see how this new start menu works, or is this something that like me, like you saw it and you're just like, yes, $1 billion idea? Be sure to let us know down below in the comments. Now we're gonna shift gears over to some Apple stuff, and we're gonna talk about some purported iPhone 6 pictures. Currently we're on the iPhone 5S. And there's some big rumors going around for the iPhone 6. I guess the thing that stands out to me most is a bigger screen. But Dante, what do you think about these supposed pictures of the iPhone 6?
I mean, it's just like every year around this time, and even later, all the way up until the new iPhone comes out. There's going to be a lot of different mock-ups, and people using a lot of photos and different type of 3D rendering programs and things to make these mock-ups and even pictures, and that makes it look like it's legit product. Now, honestly, these actually look pretty good, honestly, because it's keeping up with the form factor of what the iPhone 5 and 5S basically look like. It just looks like it's definitely thinner and it sports the bigger screen. And honestly, I think it's about time for the bigger screen because it seems like some of the sales, some of the different polls that people have been taking online, that some of the sales from Apple have been lacking in their mobile department as far as their phones because of the lack of screen size. So, yes, I do feel like this may be a time for some bigger screen real estate to come out. And honestly, from the concept picture that I see here, based on a Japanese sketch, looks very good. I mean, if it looks like that, I definitely wouldn't be opposed to it. But the only problem is I do have a problem with my phone being a certain size. Like if it's some huge, gigantic phone that I can't navigate with one thumb and just having it rest in my hand, that's going to be a
Yep.
problem. And I'm going to stick with my iPhone 5S that I currently have. But judging from the hype and the demand, and I'm not even sure really why everyone wants a bigger screen. A lot of people that I talk to, matter of fact, I have a friend of mine who's actually moving from iOS over to Android because he says he hates how small his iPhone 5S screen is and he likes to watch movies and things like that. And I can tell you this, I'm not watching an hour and a half movie like this. I'm
Yep.
sorry.
I'm right
I'm
there
just,
with you.
yeah, I'm one of those guys like, hey, I can watch it on a tablet. I can watch a movie on an iPad or something like that, but or even a MacBook or something, but not my phone. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, I know it's there for
A quick
convenience and
YouTube
things like
video.
that. Yeah, something like that. Good 5 minutes or so. Yeah, and I'm good to go. But actually, just having a bigger screen for that particular reason doesn't make any difference to me, particularly. Having a bigger screen, basically, to me, it would just be, well, that's just a new iPhone, and I'm one of those guys that I'm probably going to get the new iPhone anyway. But honestly, to me personally, I don't need a bigger screen. I like the screen size that it is. I'm able to navigate everything with one thumb, and it works perfect for what I'm doing. But Bob, just think if you were an Android user who you like your, 17 and a half inch phone or tablet or whatever that you're already using, would this make you basically want to jump over to iOS because iOS has always had technically the smaller screens in the market? Do you think this would actually help Apple actually take some sales away from Google's market because of having a bigger screen?
I think so. I mean, that's something that a lot of Android people say is that screen was just too small for me, man. Like that's the thing that I hear most, like that exact words. I mean, walking around a college campus, I overhear these conversations about, oh, dude, I just got this new phone. I mean, I like the iPhone, but the screen was just too small. I hear that like at least once a day, and so I think that it is true that Apple is definitely starting to lose a little bit of ground. Not that the OS isn't great, not that the build quality of the phone isn't great, but just because that people like pixels. I mean, that's something that it's just a trend now. 4K displays. All of a sudden, we have these phones that are sporting like 500 PPI screens on a screen that's just 4 inches. It makes you wonder how the original iPhone was like 3.5 inches, and people were like, "Holy crap!" I mean, we used to have like these like little like palm devices and things where the screen was like a little square, and so 3.5 seemed big, but nowadays it seems that even four, it is a bit small. I would like to see a bit bigger of a screen. I think about 4.5 to 4.7 would be the sweet spot for me. I feel that I would still be able to navigate that. I have average sized hands. I'm not like a midget or like a beast or anything, but I think that'd be about the sweet spot. But I feel that the iPhone is a bit skinny, where I mean, like in terms of width, I think it could be a bit longer, like width wise. The height I feel is good, but I just wish the screen were a bit wider. So I don't know exactly know how that's going to pan out. If we do see a bigger screen, exactly how big it's going to be, what the resolution is going to be, what the PPI is going to be. But I would definitely like to see a bigger screen. And for that reason alone, if we do see something with the iPhone 6, I will definitely try to like sell my 5S because it would be off contract for me to go to iOS 6. So I'd be on a contract but not upgrade. So I'd have to buy the phone outright. And so that'd be very expensive. But I will be very, very tempted to try to get as much as I can on eBay or something for my 5S if I see that the iPhone 6 has a bigger screen because it is something that I would really like to try out. The iPhone screen as it is now, I still find it absolutely usable. I still love my iPhone. I don't see myself switching because of screen size, but I would like to see iOS on a bit bigger of a screen. Why not? But like you say, as long as I can still navigate it comfortably with one hand, I'm absolutely fine with a bigger screen. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do the app scaling. In the past, on the iPad, it's been like a 2x performance from non-retina to retina. With the iPhone 5S, they bumped up the resolution just a bit vertically, not horizontally at all. So I'm not exactly sure what they would do with the resolution to make it scale correctly. But maybe what they'll do, because I remember apps that are still optimized for the 3.5 inch screen on the 4 inch screen, they just add little black bars at the top. I'm wondering if it'll be the same like width of a black bar on the sides if they make like a wider phone. I'm really not sure exactly how they do that, but Dante, do you think that you would, kind of be like me that if you saw a phone come out with a 6 inch screen that's an iPhone, or not a 6 inch screen, iPhone 6 with, like a 4.5 or 5.5, whatever inch screen, do you think that you would try to sell off your 5S quickly and get your hands on the new phone, or just something that you can honestly kind of wait for?
I mean, I think right now, because I'm in the same boat you are in, I mean, basically, I would have to buy the phone outright. So definitely, I'm going to probably have to get the lower model, like the 16 gigabyte version or something like that, which I actually kind of like having 32 gigs right now in my iPhone 5S.
I
So
can't go
it,
less.
yeah, basically. So basically, if I can't sell it for a decent price and be able to like maybe come off, a few $100 or something, and it's not going to kill me or something like that to get it, then I'll definitely do it. But it does have to look right as well because I don't think I'm going to walk around with, like you said, I mean, like a 6 inch screen or something like that. If it honestly comes out that big, then I may say no. But the only reason why I'm saying no at this particular point is just in the screen size. There's a lot of other things that hasn't really been talked about yet, like the internal specs, what kind of sensor is going to be in the camera, what are the different, sizes that this thing is going to actually come in, and what's iOS 8 going to look like, and and just things like that. There's a lot of different questions on the internal parts and things that haven't been answered or really talked about because everyone wants to get the whole design part out there first, which typically happens a lot. But Believe me, if it's a 6-inch phone or something, but it's got one of the best cameras this market has to offer, and the processor can do just amazing 64-bit processing and things like that, I would definitely get that phone just for that particular reason, because we're tech junkies, and that's just the things that we do. And I mean, definitely, if it'll because I've been on iOS for a long time, and hopefully it doesn't get to a point where it like I kind of plateaued and then just went, nope, I'm stuck on my iPhone 5S because that is the design is atrocious and I don't like it or something. But if it's like you say 4.5, maybe even 5 inches, I guess, and if it's a little thinner, then I could probably do it. But some of the real dramatic ones where they were having to like have a curved LCD screen and
Yeah.
things like that, not me. I mean, there's already, different phones and whatnot that have that feature. So yeah, I'll just count myself out if it's something like that, but definitely stick towards it if it's going to look the way these pictures do, because they look pretty well.
Yeah, and just really quick here, it's just I mean, I have about a gig free on my 32 gig phone, but that's after I freed up a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, I deleted some apps I don't need, but it's just ridiculous. I'm going 64 for my next phone, which is another deterrent as to try to jump on the iPhone 6 train when it does come out. But yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, it really does depend. If it's just a bigger screen and they don't really change any of the internal workings at all, then honestly, I probably wouldn't do that because as we found out with the iPad 3, when it first jumped to Retina, they didn't really do much with the internals and they added the Retina display. And nowadays it just suffers because of that. And so the iPad fourth generation is really the way to go if you're looking for like an entry Retina tablet. But I mean, if they have to increase maybe the processor frequency, update the processor a little bit, put some more RAM in there, things like that, then have it be all around a better phone. Whether or not it's a bit thinner or not, I don't really care. I'd honestly rather have a little bit thicker of a phone and have double the battery life. I see some of these Android phones, even the HTC One M8, that has a sealed battery. It's not removable at all, but yet you can still get like 2 days of battery life out of it. And that's something that I think Apple kind of dropped the ball on a bit because I remember when iOS 7 was first coming out, they made this big hype about how it's going to improve battery life by having background processes grouped together to reduce CPU cycles and things like that. But so far, I have to say I really haven't seen it. I still cannot go more than a day at all with my iPhone, and that to me is a bit disappointing. I was hoping that with the newer hardware plus all the software optimizations that we would have better battery life. And so the fact that Android phones do get that crazy battery life, that's something that I can honestly say that I really want. I'd rather have a better battery life than a faster processor because this thing is already screaming fast. I'd rather have battery life over more RAM. I'd rather have battery life over a bigger screen. Battery life to me, I think, is the thing that I want most out of my iPhone at the moment because I find myself always wanting to carry around a charger in my book bag or have one in the car. And for me, that is inconvenient. I'd rather have that bigger battery. So if that's a big feature of the iPhone 6, coupled in with maybe a bigger screen and the other various improvements, then I will absolutely do everything in my power to try to get that phone on day one. So that's just me. But what do you guys think? Would you hop on the iPhone 6 train if, with X factor? Would you need a screen or would you need battery or would you need a combination of all these different things? Or maybe you're thinking about switching over to Android because of what I've just talked about. Be sure to let us know down below in the comments. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to stay on the Apple train and we're going to talk about WWDC. Now, WWDC the past couple years has been absolutely ridiculous. Apple, I think last year, once Apple announced the WWDC tickets, they sold out completely within like 5 minutes, or it was some ridiculous
Yeah.
statistic. WWDC is the developers conference, in case you don't know, where they always talk about their upcoming software, whether it's OS 10 or iOS, things like that. We rarely see any hardware modifications or releases here. But this year, what they're doing is they actually hosted a lottery. Dante, go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, basically, for this particular lottery, people like a lot of the tech YouTubers, is for example, and different developers have actually a chance to get into this actual event, because this thing is like very, very, very tight. It's not easy. You can't just walk into this place, and this is going to be something that it generates a lot of internet traffic every single year, and even for us here at Tech Habit Weekly. And it's a very good conference. I mean, new products, new specs, new OS versions, and a lot of things come out. This is a very, very informative event, and usually when you miss this event, you're behind the eight ball, saw, and you're
Oh
walking
yeah.
around like, well, what happened? What happened? I mean, they could tell you that, oh, everyone's being switched back to analog, and we're like, what? Basically, that's what happens when you miss the WWDC conference.
Yep.
And I missed one year, and I was having to play catch up, trying to figure out. There's a lot of different things that I'm actually excited for. Some of the different OS architecture, like OS 10. 10.10, things like that. We haven't heard anything about a new Apple TV. I mean, there's a lot of different things going out that and coming forward that I want to hear about, especially like iOS 8 and, of course, upgrades to the different Retina MacBook lines and MacBook Air lines and things like that. There's a lot of different architecture, a lot of different processors and things that are out, and new technologies that can definitely be upgraded with the current lineup of Apple products. And since this is an all Apple event, everything is going to be geared around them. And of course, Google has their own deal off to the side that they'll do as well. And Samsung, Google I/O, and conference, and of course, like Samsung and different other different developers do have these conferences. But this is by far one of the, if not the biggest conference that comes to the tech community. And this is something that I think is very, very nice. And believe me, it's something I get excited for every year. And matter of fact, I take like a day off work to cover it
Oh
all the
yeah.
time because it's that important. I mean, being in the, I guess, quote unquote, industry that we are in and being able to cover these things, it is essential that we know the information that happens here. Now, I'm not sure if this will actually have, if they'll actually have live coverage of this one. Sometimes they'll stream it. Other times, we just have to kind of get our information from some other sources that are actually there. Hopefully they do stream it, but even so, I mean, their servers are going to be just so bogged down for everyone trying to log in and check it out. And but my question to you, Bob, is what are some of the things you're actually expecting from WWDC 14 that hasn't exactly been announced yet that you want to see come out here in the upcoming year?
The first thing definitely is iOS 8. I really hope for some further software optimization in terms of, to get the battery life up where I would like to be. See previous article for that, like we talked about. But iOS 8, there's been a few, I don't want to call them leaks, but stories, I guess, floating around into how they're going to integrate a whole bunch of health and fitness things into the next OS, which I'm not exactly sure how they're going to go about doing that. Honestly, not something that particularly interests me. It's not going to be something like, okay, iOS 8 is out. I need this feature. Like, I mean, me personally, I don't. There's not enough hours in a day for me. I just eat. I mean, I don't. I try to run or bike or something when I can, but I'm not that into my health or as much as I really should be. Knocking on wood that I don't die tomorrow. But honestly, iOS 8. Maybe clean up the interface a little bit, add some more functionality. Like I said, maybe be optimized for a bigger screen, better battery life. Honestly, I don't think this is probably going to be kind of like an iOS 5 to an iOS 6 upgrade. I think when iOS 6 we got maps. I think it was 6. I don't think it was 5, if I remember correctly. But for aside from a few big things, there wasn't all that much of a transition from iOS 5 to iOS 6. I think that's how this is going to be. iOS 7 was like the big transition. And so now iOS 8 is probably just going to be some bug fixes, some cleanup of iOS 7, even now 7.1. So iOS 8 definitely is going to be announced and talked about. Probably a whole bunch of new stuff underneath the hood that, just kind of works without us even knowing it. But aside from that, probably OS 10.1. It's going to be called probably some city in California. As you know, right now we have Mavericks. Um, I'm honestly not even sure what they're going to add to that. I don't think they'll go out like they did with iOS 7 and get a whole new look or anything like that. But Dante, those are basically the two biggest things. But do you agree, or is there anything else that I'm missing here that you want to see?
There's actually one thing. There's like one rumor basically about the 11.6-inch MacBook Air lineup. Apparently, there's supposed to be a 12-inch Retina model that's been kind of rumored around there, and I'm not sure if Apple will do that. And I mean, with it being basically the smallest, I used to think that those things were like really, really cool until I was like, man, this thing is really tiny. Like once you actually use like a 13-inch MacBook
Yeah.
Air and go back to like an 11-inch, it's tiny. I mean, literally, it feels like it's like the size of this keyboard or something. And yeah, but that's one of the things I was looking for because basically, as of right now, as far as any quote unquote laptop, it's the only one that's non-retina.
Yeah.
and that's being currently sold right now. And then of course, there were some different rumors about like an even bigger iPad and things like that. But also on back to the same point, one other thing about the how to get into this, basically the developers will have until 10 a.m. and this is Pacific time, on basically the 7th of April to apply for the tickets. And it says here that for the first time this year, the tickets will be randomly allocated as they do, because they do this in Google I/O conference. They do the tickets the same way. And it says, with a lucky few being notified by 5 p.m. the same day. In previous years, the tickets were sold on a first come, first served basis, with all of last year's slots gone within the first 3 minutes.
Oh,
That's
3 minutes.
that's staggering. I mean, 3 minutes for a conference and it's gone. Sorry,
Hundreds of
can't get in.
thousands of tickets.
Yes. And yeah, so basically I think it's going to help kind of get some people in there, that it's like, oh, well, because I wasn't there first, at the door or something, being able to sign up, I think it helps, randomize who basically gets in and who doesn't and things like that. And it kind of levels the playing field with that too. But as we were saying, apparently there's supposed to be some different, I've been hearing a lot of rumors. I've been surfing the web about iTunes Radio. Apparently there's some more different integrations that are going to go into that, where they're going to pretty much just blow the top right off it, and
I would
have this
love that.
be like, really, really nice. And I use iTunes Radio. I like it a
I
lot.
love iTunes Radio.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And especially because of my car, I have a Bluetooth head unit that I use, and I stream like everything. If I don't have my iPod Classic just plugged into it, I just Bluetooth stream everything. So it's nice to be able to just go to your iTunes Radio, and it airplays right to your car, and it's good stuff. But yeah, those are some of the things I'm looking for, at the WWDC 14 conference, and of course, some of their different. One thing I always like to hear is whenever they do their updates for different Mac OS and iOS and things like that, is the battery performance on your mobile devices, especially the laptops. I definitely like seeing, oh yeah, that you can pretty much use, a laptop for like, 10 hours, and that's ridiculous, because a lot of these laptops, have like a 3 cell battery, and it can only go for like maybe two hours tops,
Yep.
and
Wait,
that's
wait, you
something
actually want to use it? Oh, well
oh,
then an
well, yeah, that's
hour.
weird. Yeah, well, yeah, okay. So you want to type and be able to look at a video and what? Oh,
Wow.
okay,
Okay.
yeah, maybe, yeah, we may have to fix that. So, but yeah, definitely, it's going to be a nice conference. I mean, believe me, like I said, I'm taking the day off for that, so we'll definitely be covering that here on Tech Habit Weekly. Lo and behold, hopefully everything goes well with our schedules and everything, because it is real life. Things do happen, and hopefully we are able to cover that conference. So we'll definitely check it out
Absolutely.
as it comes up.
I really hope they actually stream it too. I think
Yeah, I
the
know.
last event, I don't think they streamed it. I don't think
No, it was like
WWDC.
2 years ago or something.
Yeah,
Like,
something. I don't know. They didn't stream one, and it was like crap.
yeah,
I mean,
kind of
back in the
stinks.
day, they never used to, so we just kind of got used to it. But then once they did it once, it's like, wow, this is nice.
Right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it was
I
just
don't actually like feel bad that I'm not there. I mean, I'd rather
right,
save the money and just kind of watch from my computer.
right. And then of course they do have it on their on Apple's website. They'll put the keynote up and everything once it's
I
done.
think
But
they'll do it on the Apple TV. I think they have like a special channel that day or something too.
yeah, because I remember actually getting like an iOS download on my phone either last year or 2 years ago for WWDC,
Yeah.
and I remember it didn't work very well. But yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, like I said, I mean, if they do stream it, I mean, that'd be great. But then you got to find who's streaming it, and it's kind of like you kind of fishing around trying to find all the information, and but normally if they're doing it, it'll be great. It works fine. We'll be able to see everything right there, real time. But if not, we're kind of relying on some people who are there and they're trying to hurry up and type down the posts
Yeah.
and get it up to us. So there's a delay, and we're trying to read them all. So it's
It's
very
always
it
fun.
keeps you on the edge, yeah, yeah. It keeps you on the edge of your feet, definitely. When you're trying to do it.
Yeah.
So
It's one of those days where like if you have a desktop Twitter client, it's just like just like
yeah.
continuously going.
And yeah,
It's always fun.
90% of it's the same news, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's nice that everyone is that in tune that pretty much everyone's like, all right, today's WWDC day, and it's like, All right, get your
Yeah.
stuff together. So it's good
Yeah,
stuff.
it's cool. I mean, I don't think, anyone goes to a Windows conference or anything like that, and never is my Twitter feed anywhere near as busy as it is on WWDC day. That,
Right.
that, that is like, I think the biggest day for companies like Twitter or like people that do live streaming content like we do. It's a big day. I mean, it's a big deal. It's the Black
It's a really big
Friday of
deal.
malls.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think about WWDC? Do you think we're right on with what we predict? Do you think we'll be seeing, iOS 8? Mavericks, the Mavericks update, Mavericks successor, 10.1. I think those are pretty safe to say. But do you think we'll be seeing any new hardware, maybe a Mac Mini? I doubt it, but who knows? Maybe a new iPad or an iPhone. Whatever the case is, be sure to let us know what you guys think down below in the comments. And now jumping back to some Microsoft news, our final story of the day. We have Microsoft taking on Apple's CarPlay with their new fun tiles, Windows in the car concept. Now, Dante, what exactly is this, and what differences does it have from something like CarPlay?
Probably nothing. The problem is, with this type of technology, there's a lot of different functionalities with these type of technologies. But the thing is, I think everyone's kind of piggybacking off each other, which tends to happen in the tech community. But with this, I mean, it's basically Windows version of iOS in the car or a CarPlay, and with this, it says Microsoft is no stranger to powering vehicle systems, but the company is also looking for a new idea. Front and center is detailed with the recent build developer as from their conference last week. With this particular infrastructure, it's going to be geared more towards. It says it's going to start support with Volkswagen, Honda, Toyota, and Citroën. That's a European company, and working to support those cars, and also different head units like Alpine and Pioneer will be supporting the initiative with the aftermarket parts. And honestly, we have a video here that our producer Terrell is showing, and it's basically giving you the same functionalities that all the rest of them are. I mean, I don't think there's really any one feature that's going to completely blow it out of the water. I mean, you can get your messages and your different notifications and things on weather and things like that inside your car, and music and other devices. I mean, you can even have your podcasts and things like that. Of course, so you can definitely check out Tech Habit Weekly or something, if you want, or Mac Break Weekly or something, in your car, and be able to, of course, talk on your car through the head unit and through Bluetooth and through the internal speakers and things like that, and the built-in microphone. So to me, it's just the same. I mean, there's
The
everything
same
looks the
thing with a
same.
different interface.
There you go. I mean, the Metro interface style is going to be used for this particular interface with the UI, and to me, there's nothing different. It's just basically putting Microsoft stamp on it, and there's definitely a race in between who's going to have the better version inside the car, and we'll definitely see as it develops. But Bob, you drive a Honda Civic, but you're definitely
Unfortunately.
looking. That may or may not be a good or bad thing, but I know you're looking into getting a newer car. If you had, say, a Volkswagen, because I know you were talking about that, would you be more likely to go to a newer model that has the Microsoft's version in their car with their Windows concept within the car?
I mean, the Windows concept, I mean, it looks like Windows Phone. It looks, just tiles. It's very 2D type of an interface, very easy to navigate. Honestly, I'd really like to give it a try. I'd still love to give CarPlay a try too. I mean, if I could have the choice of, a brand new Volkswagen GTI, let's say, which is the dream, and so I could get that standard with CarPlay, or I can get that standard with, Microsoft's offering. I would definitely want to try them both. Just because I have an iPhone doesn't necessarily mean that I would absolutely go for CarPlay, but it's a good, it's safe to say I'd probably go with CarPlay just because, like I said, I kind of have an Apple ecosystem going on here in my house, and why not take that to my car too, provided that it works well. But that comes right back to I would like to try it first. I do have to say that the Windows interface, like I said, it looks clean, it looks very simple, it doesn't look confusing. But as we were just talking about, it's the same exact thing with a different coat of paint. And
Yeah.
when it comes to stuff in the car, that's pretty much all we're going to be getting. I mean, I can't really imagine much more stuff that I would want to add to this that one or the other doesn't have because I mean, you're driving. You're not going to really have time to have all these different features and stuff. So it seems kind of pointless to overload these kind of things. So all you need is some good functionality with some easy to touch buttons while you drive to make it kind of safe while you drive. And maybe I could see some extra features being added in for maybe like the passenger. If it's like a long road trip, maybe the passenger could have a few more things. I think it'd be kind of neat maybe to have like a split screen sort of experience. Like if you have like a GPS up or something, maybe have like the left side become a GPS map and the person that's in the passenger seat be able to have Facebook or something on the right side. Maybe something like that. But even that I bet it would be abused. You'd see
Oh
people,
yeah.
in the seat of their car checking Facebook. That's just bad news. So I can absolutely understand if they don't add anything like that. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is I don't really see what else they could add that would give it necessarily an advantage. With something like this, it's really all about the interface. And in terms of, which interface I like better, I think I like Apple's a little bit better because I mean, I think Microsoft is very simple. It's a bit too simple, I think. I don't like squares, I don't like just
Yeah.
square here, square here, square here with some text. It's not bad. It's just not me. I think I'd prefer Apple's offering. But Dante, what about you? Have you had a chance to play with CarPlay at all? And if you have or haven't, just looking at them, not having used them, which one do you think you like better?
Definitely. I mean, coming from in his honest opinion, being basically an Apple guy, I'm gonna have to go with CarPlay, and only because same thing that you said. It's the same thing. Everything's the same. Honestly, with these type of architectures, it's almost like who got there first, and then after who got there first, who done it better. Well, I mean, they're pretty much the third tier in this particular infrastructure, and I'm just trying to figure out, what are they going to bring that's different? Like you said, I mean, the UI is very, very simple. I mean, black background, blue tiles, I mean, not much going on there. But I can say there's good things with it being simplistic like that because you are in a car. You don't need, I guess, fancy gestures and a bunch of different stuff going on exactly when you're just trying to drive and hit, your Pandora radio or something like that. But then you got to think of some of the functions like, I don't know, say you're driving along and Windows car. Yes, Dante. Tweet Bob. I have your Miley Cyrus season tickets to her concert ready, and I'll bring them to you at 3 p.m. And then it says, okay, here's your tweet to Bob. Would you like me to send it? Yes. So it gets to a point at a certain point where things are a little too hard, or you would actually have to just wait, on certain things. Like you said, with the Facebook thing, I think, like you said, it would be abused. You'll see a lot of traffic accidents with people leaning over all the way to the
Oh yeah, I
passenger
can see
side
it.
trying to use the Facebook side on the split screen to try to check a status update to see if somebody liked your picture. So it's just stuff like that. But like I said, I mean, it all comes down to how does it work now? Yes, I think iOS version looks a lot better, but at the end of the day, how does it work? I mean, if it's buggy, if it's getting bad connections and different things like that, if the GPS is not working correctly or whatever, or it's just too much of a distraction, that may cause a problem as well because they have to basically dumb down some of the future features to make it safe for the driver to use while driving. I mean, and I know what they'll argue that it's no less safe than just using your standard head unit or regular radio, I would believe. But having so much stuff and so many different features sometimes can actually hinder the driver, which they don't want to get
Yeah.
into lawsuits and things for, hey, I'm watching YouTube right on my, while I'm driving, I'm watching a podcast or, watching, a movie or something while you're driving, which would actually definitely be illegal because it's distraction to the driver. But I mean, we'll definitely see what happens with it, and then another thing is they don't have as many models of car makers as CarPlay with Apple does. I mean, they only got like 4 or 5 that I'm seeing right
Yeah.
now. There was a lot more, even a lot of more premium um, car companies like Mercedes Benz and things like that with Apple being on board, but with them, not quite. So I'm thinking that even those companies are like, we'll just wait and see how it works. So before they just slap it in every one of their cars and say this is the next it thing
Yeah.
as far as driving. So we'll definitely
Yeah,
check
I
it out.
think a lot of more car manufacturers are definitely willing to get on Apple's side because I think they just have a higher reputation of it just works than Microsoft does. That's the last thing you want is to be cruising down the street and all of a sudden you have like a blue screen
Yeah.
right on your center console. So, not to say that, like it'll be unstable. I'm just saying, what's happened in the past. actually one of my friends online, David Banther. I'm not sure if you guys know him or not, but he has a Ford, I believe, that has some kind of a Microsoft interface in it, and he tweets all the time about how it's blue screen, and it's literally just a blue screen, like in a center dash. So it does happen. So I'm not saying regardless, not to get in like a war here or anything, but it's true. Apple does have a higher reputation of it just works, which is, I think, directly related as to why they have more companies on board with this. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see whether some of the car manufacturers that have agreed or have maybe some kind of a contract with both CarPlay and Microsoft, if they'll be offering if the like the center console interface, whether it's Apple based or Microsoft based, will be like a difference in the model of the car. So they could have, say, for example, a 2014 Volkswagen GTI in red 5-speed with Apple, or a 2014 GTI 5-speed in red with Microsoft, and maybe have like a price difference, or it'll be interesting to see if they actually split it up like that and have that be actually listed on the feature set of that car, or whether it'll be one of those things where, like, you get a center console, you get what you get, sort of a deal. So I don't really know how that's going to work, but definitely I have to say that I would go with CarPlay over Microsoft's offering. But once again, I would absolutely love to use both. And so, with that said, let us know what you think about Microsoft's offering Windows in the car down below in the comments, and how you think it stacks up compared to Apple's offering of CarPlay. And that's it. That's all the stories that we have for this week of Tech Habit Weekly. But now, what we're going to do right quick before we bounce out of here is give you guys our tech treats of the week. In case you just your first time tuning in, tech treats, they're basically just an app, or some kind of hardware, something technologically related that me or Dante in the past week have found useful or just found really cool. So this is probably the part of the show you're going to like least, only because it probably will get you to spend some money. But Dante, go ahead and kick us off with your tech treat.
Well, my tech treat for this week is actually going to be a utility app, I would like to call it, actually called Mobile Mouse. You ever been just laying around the house and you just want to be a fat, disgusting slob, and you're drinking Hackintosh juice and whatnot, and maybe you've got something going on your laptop, but you're like, oh crap, I don't want to get up to change the scene for Netflix to another movie or something. Well, with Mobile Mouse, basically it turns your smartphone into a mouse. Now I'm going to try to show this as best I can, and basically this is available in the iTunes App Store. And I don't know how well you can see this, but we've got this sexy gentleman right here, and I don't know,
Yeah.
well, maybe I can turn up the brightness here on my MacBook Pro, but basically, as you can see, my hands aren't on the trackpad, but I'm moving the mouse with my phone. And that's the application there. And basically, I can do this, I mean, on my desktop, on my Mac Pro, or whatever device that you want. I think it's good for, say, if you're, really far away from your machine and you need to just do something really quickly. It supports a lot of different gestures as well. I mean, there's a pro version too that they actually have a lot more features and different things, like being able to play, hit the play button and things like that on your phone to activate maybe iTunes or something like that, or maybe a movie, or even change the volume on your device. And it's very, very nice, and even supports different applications. You can just launch everything. It's a really, really nice app that I think everyone should use, just in case you're just like, oh man, I just need I need something, something else, and I don't feel like getting up. I'm a fat, disgusting slob, and I'm not saying
It's
you have to be a fat
Saturday.
slob to use, but hey, you're off work, you had a long day of work, you're a full time student or something. You're like, you know what, I'm not getting out of bed to change this. Boop. So, and definitely think about it like if you were airplaying something, like if you had your MacBook just sitting there or whatever, and you're airplaying, and you're just like, all right, that's it, and you just set it down, and you're like, oh crap, I need to turn that up or do something. You can just do that from your smartphone. It's a lot easier to do that than reaching over, getting this thing, putting it in your lap, waking it up, probably putting in your password or things like that to be able to get this thing to run. Now, there is, like I said, for the OS 10 version, there is like a little client that you actually need, and it's free, and you can download it, and it just basically it's almost like a little server for it, that basically just a little helper that helps it run, make the connection in between the two. And then once it's actually ready, I can unlock my phone here, and see, this will go away. I'll hit later, and it'll say connected, like it just did there, and it knows it's connected, and it knows Safari's open. So here I'm going to try to open, and boom,
So
Safari's
does that
open.
Does that work over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth? Do you know?
I think it actually works over Wi-Fi because it has it was talking about a port number and different
Okay.
things, like it gives you like a general port number of not like 9090 or something like that. And as long as you type that information in like a really simple password, you're able to have that secure connection with just your device so you don't have any problems. But it does work very, very well. And I'm using it now, and I think that anybody should use this basically if you want to just sit back and relax and be able to enjoy, having your mouse, wherever you go. It's not quite like the because I know people were talking about the remote for like Apple TV and things like that. I do have that app as well. But it's a little different because you can span this across your actual OS 10, infrastructure and not just Apple TV. So yeah, it works really, really well.
Awesome. Yeah. Do you know? Does it support like four finger gestures, like for like mission control and stuff? Do you know if it?
I don't know about all that because I pretty much just use it for point and click. But I
Uh-huh.
think the Pro version actually does have better gestures and things that are actually in there. And let's see here. Yeah, I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure there's something like that in the Pro version. I have the free version. The Pro version, I'm actually not sure how much the Pro version costs because the Pro version is 199. The free version I've been using has just been working just fine for me. But they're even showing that on the Pro version that you can actually keep like little apps, like your apps that are on your computer in like a dock, and then you can just pop them up, whenever you
Oh,
want. Like,
that's
okay, I
neat.
want to, yeah, I want to go to Safari. Boom, Safari. So you don't have to go. Let me navigate to where is the Safari? The compass is down here. Oh, I cannot see it so far away. I do not want to get up. You can just click it right down in your dock that's right there on your interface and bring it up, and it's very nice. And like I said, you can do lots of things. You can, like in iTunes, you can shuffle and and do a lot of different things, and play and turn your volume up and down and things like that. And it's really nice and be able to open up Safari and Finder and different things like that. I think it's very, very nice. You pretty much almost have like full control over your computer inside a mobile device.
That's really neat. I could see someone like, maybe having like going on eBay, buying like an old school iPod Touch for a couple bucks off eBay, having that app and just having it as like a little HUD, like just like a little heads up display, like on your desks or something.
Yeah,
I want to open that app, just boop. And want do you want to
yeah.
skip that song? Boop. And you could have maybe a keyboard that doesn't have all these different, like song functions or something. You could have these little heads up displays that, oh, instead of having to go up to Spotlight and type what I'm looking for and launch it or go into my application stack or something, I could just like, just have a little mount on my desk for an iPod Touch or even mount it like on top of one of my monitors or something and just boop and just kind
Yeah.
of launch that app. I could
Yeah, it
see
works
someone doing
very
that.
well. And then, like, okay, for instance, a setup like myself, like my Mac Pro is downstairs, but my Apple TV is upstairs. Well, what if I'm like, well, man, all the storage is on the Mac Pro. Well, I want to AirPlay upstairs, but I don't want to keep coming downstairs to change every movie. Then, boop, then I'm good to go. Launch my applications, whatever I need to do, and then right there on my television, I can have it, just the way I want and navigate things and be able to AirPlay even through the iTunes application. I can do that too, because there's an AirPlay feature that's in iTunes that I can just send it up to the Apple TV as well, as long as it's in the proper format. So yeah, I mean, like that's one of the main uses for it for me anyway, is be able to get my media from downstairs to upstairs without having to come down here and move it over, click it, AirPlay, go back upstairs, sit down, put on Miley Cyrus. I mean, get something to eat. And yeah, and maybe I was talking about Bob's day, not mine,
How
but
did you
yeah,
know?
I just think it works out a lot easier. And like I said, the free version has been just fine for me. And definitely the pro version, it's only $1.99. So it's definitely not the most expensive app, but I think you're getting a lot of app for that price, being able to do this. So yeah, check it out, guys. Mobile mouse, there is a OS 10 version and of course an iOS version. So very
Awesome.
nice.
Really quick, I do want to say Dante made me buy him his CD the other day. So just just saying. I mean,
That was a hacked
regardless.
email that somebody sent Bob
Oh
saying that
my.
I wanted that. Yeah, okay. See, we'll
We'll
talk
talk
about it.
after
Don't
the
worry, guys.
show. We'll talk
Yeah.
later. Anyway, awesome tech treat, especially for having a free version and a paid version. Actually, I have it downloading, so we'll go ahead and we'll see how that goes for me, and I'll try to use it as like a little heads up display. And I'll probably let you guys know next week how that turns out for me. But really quick, just to wrap up, my tech treat is like a physical item, it's a physical object. It's not an app like I actually like I usually have. Most of my tech treats are app based. But this keyboard here I've been using for a very long time now, a couple probably like 2 years or so. This is the Logitech Solar keyboard for Mac. This thing unfortunately recently did die on me. I checked a little battery that is inside of here. It's like a little button battery that's in there. The battery does work because the green light comes on, and honestly, I was using it and it just kind of cut out randomly, and so I kind of narrowed it down to the little dongle here that's bad. I tried to plug it into multiple computers, and the thing just doesn't work, and so needless to say, I went out and I bought the same thing but in black off Amazon.
Nice.
And this thing, I love this keyboard. I do realize they have a version that doesn't have the number pad, but honestly, I kind of do like the number pad. It is really nice sometimes. For times I'm dealing with numbers or things, I don't to have to use the top row is a bit clumsy. So just have that little number pad, have that little enter key on the right there. It's just really nice. But I do want to say that the black keyboard, there is a more of a difference than just the color. The keys do actually feel a bit better, and I don't think that's just because it's a brand new keyboard and this one's 2 years old. I do believe that these keys actually are like raised up a little bit more, and they make a completely different sound, and they feel just different when you type on it. The black one, I feel that it's a lot quieter to type on. The keys, I feel like they go down a little bit smoother. I could just be crazy. Maybe I just got a different kind of a keyboard here. Maybe the keys aren't exactly how they should be or something. But all I know is that I can type ridiculously fast on this keyboard. And there's a deal on Amazon right now. I think it's like $60. I originally paid, I think, like 80 or so for this one when I first got it. So I got this one that honestly I like better. I feel that it types a bit better for $20 cheaper. And I do have to say that this solar functionality on here, it works so great. Not once in the 2 years or so that I've had this have I ever had to worry about changing a battery or charging it or anything. Every single time I go to type on it, it has power. And when I say solar, it doesn't necessarily need the sun. It just needs a light source. So even the lamp that I'm using right now is charging this keyboard just because. And that's actually what this light means. The green means that it's being powered, like it's getting charged. If this light is red, it doesn't mean that your battery's low or anything. It just means that it's not getting enough light to be charging. So, but I have to say that it's a very nice keyboard, very comfortable, very reliable. Of course, this one did just die, but for how much I use this thing, for how much I use my computer, this thing doesn't owe me, this keyboard owes me nothing. And so that's why I bought another one. Definitely a great deal if you guys are looking for a great keyboard. I do believe that they have the same exact version as a Windows keyboard as well. And this one's, Mac, it has little command keys, the different play functions up above. They do make a Windows version, so if you want to check that out, I'm not sure if there's a price difference on those, but
Let
absolutely a
me
great
let me ask you
keyboard.
this, Bob's. Of course, you're using a Hackintosh, and you need that actual Bluetooth dongle. Does that come with the keyboard, or?
It's actually not Bluetooth. It's just like IR or
Oh,
whatever,
okay, I
whatever
got
that
you. I
is.
got
Yeah,
you. I got you.
yeah.
Okay,
It's
I
not
thought
Bluetooth.
I was thinking. I was like, wait a minute. If I already got built-in Bluetooth with my, Mac Pro, I was like, well, how's that going to work if I need that? I was just making sure there wasn't going to be like a connection issue or
Gotcha.
something like
Yeah.
that. Okay, yeah.
I'm
So it's
not.
IR. Okay, so it's
I'm
like
not
this
sure
old
if they.
school. Oh,
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
yeah.
I'm not sure if they do make a Bluetooth version. Honestly, they might. I just haven't checked. According to Terrell, they do. So they do make a Bluetooth. Yeah. So okay. So it's very much like the actual Apple keyboard. They do make a Bluetooth version, but it's missing the number pad.
Yeah.
So that's from
And if
Logitech.
you're cool like us here at Tech Cabot Weekly, you can have multiple $80
Yep,
keyboards
that's how we do.
for no reason. It's kind of they're
Yeah,
not cheap.
but
79.99, get one. Apple Store.
you bring up a good point though. That I mean, this is I kind of switch them up on kind of like a weekly basis. Like one week I'll use this keyboard, one week I'll use this keyboard. But owning a Hackintosh, there's a few circumstances in which you can get a Bluetooth dongle to work at the BIOS level. I've actually done it on a BitPhoenix Prodigy build I did with a micro ITX board. I was actually able to switch, which partition at the bootloader using a Bluetooth Apple keyboard. The one and the only time I've ever seen it. I've never seen it work anywhere else, but I swear on my good name that it did work for me that this particular build. But generally with a Hackintosh, I think it depends on the dongle you use. Bluetooth will not work at the BIOS level. So if you have to boot into your BIOS and change BIOS settings, or if you want to go to the bootloader and when the computer is booting up, maybe you want to boot into a Windows partition instead of an OS 10 partition, using an Apple Bluetooth keyboard, chances are very likely that you won't be able to do it. So if you do run a Hackintosh and you're looking for an Apple keyboard, you can use this, the actual Apple one, once you've been booted into the OS. But in case you do need to do anything at the BIOS level, you really should have a backup USB based keyboard
Oh
as
yeah,
well. So
that's
that
just a good
that's
rule of
the
thumb.
tip
Yeah,
of the week.
yeah.
You'll find yourself kicking yourself, and it'll be like 1 in the morning, and you'll be like, "Oh, I need to change that BIOS setting because this will not boot without it. Let me go to Walmart really, really quick and buy a $10 keyboard just so I can make this one stupid little change." It's
Right.
good to have a backup keyboard, even if you don't use it on a daily basis. And for one that is Mac ready, this keyboard for I think like 59.95 or something on Amazon Prime
Not bad
shipped,
because it's
great
actually
deal.
cheaper than the actual legit Apple keyboard. I mean,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
so that makes sense. I mean, I believe the non-Bluetooth one, I think the wired one, I think is 59.99, but then the Bluetooth one, well, how much? Oh, sorry, I'm getting some new information from Terrell. I think it's 49.99 for the wired keyboard from Mac and I'm sorry, from Apple. And the Bluetooth one is 79.99. I
Yeah.
just recently bought one because I decided to treat my last one to a drink. And, and he didn't like
You're
the
getting a
drink
little
too
too
much.
friendly with your keyboards there,
Well,
sir.
hey, I mean, when all the stainless steel around, it's just hard not to get frisky. So, but
Oh
but
boy.
yeah, definitely that it's a good. And I remember Terrell had one, and I thought it worked pretty well too. And I was like, huh, and just like you said, it doesn't mean you have to go outside and get it charged by natural sunlight. I mean, it can be charged by any light source, like you said. I think that works good. And I know, and if you guys don't know, for some reason, and I've yet to clinically figure this out, but Bob and our producer Terrell type like they're on PCP. And I don't know exactly what the diagnosis is, but they can type like ridiculously fast on those keyboards, and it's crazy. And so just
Good.
knowing that they can type that fast lets me know that that's a good keyboard because I know people that can type very fast. And they're like, yeah, that keyboard's not going to work because whenever I do this, I go to slip a key or something, or it just doesn't feel right or something. And being able to talk about how it feels and how the keys are raised up or more recessed or something, or a little softer and things like that. Those things matter when you're typing out, tweets and documents and different things like that.
Oh yeah.
When you're always typing, and so that's a good feature. And of course, I mean, who likes buying batteries? I mean, nobody likes buying batteries, so I think that's a good deal too. And I may look into that myself because I'm using the Mobi charger that yours
You and me
truly,
both.
yes, are using. And it comes with like a little station here where you can just plug it right here, USB, and charge it up. And I've actually, I mean, sometimes I charge it, man, maybe once every couple months. I think I might have charged this thing maybe 2 or 3 times, like completely. And right
It
now
just
it says I
goes.
got 44% battery on this thing, and it doesn't go down for a long time. And I never try, like
Yeah.
that's why I picked this thing up and it doesn't even have the cord. It's just the cord's back over
Yeah.
here somewhere. It just sits on my desk to look nice. But yeah, there you have it though. I mean that being able to save batteries and not buy a bunch of AA batteries and things like that and have it charged off the light that you're already using, that's great. I believe they also do have like a version that's like backlit too. If guys
Oh,
like
do
that,
they?
like the backlit keyboard that's on like a MacBook Pro or something like that. And yeah, that'll be nice too. But I'm pretty sure that's going to require batteries or some sort of a plug-in
Yeah.
source to be able to power that.
And
I
be a
mean,
bit more on the pricey
on the
side
pricey
too.
side, correct. So it just depends on your preference. I don't know how often people are typing in the dark or actually need it to type or anything, but it is a nice feature, depending on what you're
Absolutely.
doing. So,
Yeah,
but
one thing
nice
I've
tip for
noticed
you.
too about the actual official Apple keyboard, if you look at the keys, like if you really look at them, they're just absolutely flat. And so with this Logitech keyboard, the keys are actually slightly indented in the middle. So I think that's why I could type faster on it too. There's more of a tactile feedback on it. So
Yeah,
like your fingers know like where that little recess is, and it allows you to hit the keys a bit more accurately. Whereas the Apple keyboard, it's literally just kind of like a tile. It's just flat. So I do definitely type quicker than on the Logitech than I do on the Apple keyboard, but I mean I still have no problems typing on this on the Apple keyboard. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of overall like words per minute or however you judge that kind of a thing, I definitely do type on the Logitech faster, but that's just me. But with that said, definitely a great keyboard for $60. I don't think you'll find it better, especially with free shipping. maybe tax or not, depending on where you live. But regardless, that's my tech treat, and that's Tech Habit Weekly, episode 23. So thank you guys very much for joining us. We do apologize for not being here last week. Ridiculously busy in school. I'm sure
Yeah,
Dante, you can relate to. It's
definitely.
been
Right after this
really crazy.
podcast, I'm going to kill
Homework.
myself because of all the amount of homework.
Yep.
And matter of fact, I think if I stage my death, they may give me credit that I can come
Maybe.
back and be able to get those credits transferred to another school. Anywho, we'll talk about it. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
swamped in homework. So yeah, we apologize
Absolutely.
definitely. So
Yes, I mean it just kind of happens. Honestly, we probably won't even have a post show today just because we both have to get off here and really buckle down, and otherwise it'll just never get done. And all of a sudden, I'm homeless and don't have a job. So, with that said, thank you guys very much for watching. Please like this show down below. Also, leave a comment. Please give your feedback onto all of the stories. Pretty soon you'll be seeing all these stories on one place for Apple, one place for tech. There are new redesigned sites coming up very soon. Me personally, I'll be graduating here in about like a month from I think yesterday, something like that. So, I mean, I do realize that on my channel, videos have been very slow. I do apologize for that, but there's just not enough hours in the day. I have about 7 videos recorded and just no time to edit them. So I do apologize for that, but school ends here, like I said, in about a month. So after that, it's open season for videos. Hopefully I'll have a job. That would be nice. But regardless, thank you guys very much for watching. Huge outro. We'll see you guys back here in episode 24.